All right. Well, I'm not sure how many of you guys are going to watch this. I hadn't planned it or anything like that, but I decided to give a little bit of an update, a little bit of a response to what's going on with all the COVID-19 stuff everywhere in inboxes. I'm sure they're full of emails about updates on the coronavirus and the implications of that. Some of it's pretty discouraging, but I want to provide maybe a little bit of a different perspective, maybe a little bit of an encouraging perspective to this whole situation. And I want us to be asking the question: how can we make the most of every opportunity? Ephesians 5:15 is a really great verse, and it tells us to make the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. And in a time where things are a little bit shaky, things are a little bit crazy, I think it's really important for us to be asking that question: how can we make the most of every opportunity? And I've got five things that I want to go over right now. Number one is Christians throughout history who have dealt with epidemics. The second thing is I want to ask you guys, what are you going to do about it? Number three, I want to give you guys different ways to move forward strategically and how to make an impact for Christ during this time. Number four, I want to dream a little bit about what it would look like if if all Christians decided that they were going to make the most of every opportunity. And then number five, I want to talk with us a little bit about how challenge is going to be moving forward. So let's start with number one. I want to talk about Christians in the 3rd century. Yesterday, me and David Wooster, we were talking about how Christians throughout history have really thrived, and the gospel has thrived throughout epidemics that have happened. And one example of that is in the 3rd century, there was a huge epidemic that was sweeping the Roman Empire. And as many as 5,000 people a day were dying, and people were fearful. Even though they didn't understand how diseases quite worked, they knew that if they stayed there, that they might get this disease, and things were not going well. And so people were leaving their dead in the streets. Like I said, as many as 5,000 people. I mean, this was a crazy time, and this was much worse than what we're experiencing right now. I mean, many, many times worse. And while most people were retreating in fear, the Christians decided to respond, and to respond with wisdom and boldness. And the Christians took it upon themselves to care for the sick, to care for those who were dying, to take the time to bury the dead in an honorable way. And as historians can look back through Christian history at the multiple times when Christians have responded positively during times of epidemics, they can trace back a lot of the growth and expansion of the Christian faith to these early Christians who responded with boldness and actually took action and made the most of the opportunity. And for some of them, maybe for many of them, it did cost them their lives. I'm not saying we need to follow their example exactly. I don't think it would necessarily be wise for us to, go get contract COVID-19 and then go spread that around. I don't think that's wise necessarily, but I think there are some really strategic ways that we can continue to make the most of every opportunity. So my question is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do during this time? In light of Ephesians 5:15 that says, make the most of every opportunity, what are you going to do? I want to present two options, one negative and one positive. One option is to retreat in fear, to just, try and cover up under your bed, and maybe go out and buy all the toilet paper you can, and watch Netflix and play video games or whatever you might do. So that's one option, to retreat in fear and say, you know what, I'm just going to kind of shut life off for a bit and just keep to myself and try and ride this out. Or number two You can advance with wisdom. Advance with wisdom. And I think that's really important, both words, the advance part, which is to take action, and then to do it with wisdom. I want to give us now 4 ways that we can advance with wisdom. The first is to love others through service. Love others through service. And there are a lot of ways that we could do this. We can get creative with this. But for our church, for Mission Trails Church, we want to be really serving those people who are supposed to be self-quarantined right now. So those people who are over 65 or people who have health conditions that would make them more vulnerable to sickness. And so, some of them might need food delivered. Some of them might need some tasks done outside their house, or maybe something done for them. And so we want to make sure we're touching base with those people, maybe a couple times a week via the phone, and just asking, how can we serve you? How are you doing? Praying for them over the phone, and then providing for their needs in a wise way. So that's one way that we can advance with wisdom. Another way that we can advance with wisdom is to really cultivate our spiritual disciplines. So sometimes when schedules are messed up and life is shaken up a bit, we fall out of our good habits. And so I want to make sure that doesn't happen to any of us. I want to make sure that that habit of daily time with God through Bible reading and prayer keeps on going. That the habit of sharing our faith keeps going, even though it might look different. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I want to make sure that the habit of scripture memory continues to go. And maybe your good just life habits, exercising, stuff like that. And for those of you guys who don't have those spiritual disciplines in place, this is a time to start. And for those of you who do, this is a time to maybe increase. So do you normally have a short time with God? Why don't you extend that a little bit? Do you normally memorize 1 verse a week? Well, this might be a season where you can start memorizing 2. Hide God's word in your heart. For those of you guys who don't know, I like to use these little cards where I just write the reference, essentially. Write the reference on one side, and then the Bible verse on the other side. And I spend a day trying to memorize that, meditating on that. And then for the rest of the week, I review it every single day and continue meditating on that. So maybe for some of you guys, it's time to start those habits. Get up in the morning on time. Don't sleep in. Go get your workout in. Get your time with God. So keep up those spiritual disciplines. Number 3, we can do evangelism, but in more creative ways. So normally we might go out on campus, shake someone's hand, say hi, start up a conversation with them, get up all in their face. Well, maybe not all up in their face, but you know what I mean. So we won't be doing that. But one thing we can be doing is connecting with people via text message or phone call. So for me, I've got a list of, 20, 30 people that I met at the beginning of the semester, and I haven't really been able to cultivate a relationship with them. So this would be a time where I might actually give them a call and say, hey, David, or hey, Derek, or whatever. This is Kevin from Challenge, and we met at the beginning of the semester, and in light of everything that's going on, I just wanted to see how you're doing, see how I can pray for you. And that might open up a door to get to hear their story, to share my testimony about how Jesus has changed my life, and then to share the gospel with them. And students throughout the semester, during normal times of the semester, give me 2 big reasons why they don't prioritize time with God, or why they don't prioritize their relationship with God. The first reason they give is this. They say, I'm good. I'm good, bro. I've got it. Life's fine. Everything's all right. I don't need Jesus. I don't need God right now. I'm cool. I'm good. Well, guess what? Right now is a time when people are realizing everything's not good, and their life might not be good anymore. And even though we always have a need for God, every single one of us has a need for God all the time. This is a strategic time when God is allowing people to really see that they don't have it all together, that they don't control the world, that everything doesn't always happen their way, and that they don't have it good right now, and that they might actually have a need for God. And so we want to meet people during this time and show them that Jesus desires a relationship with them, and that he is the most important thing. The second big thing that people tell me on campus is they say, I'm too busy. Man, I'd love to come to challenge, or I'd love to read the Bible, or I'd love to do that sometime. That sounds great. That sounds really important. But I've got a test. I got a test coming up. Or I've got another meeting I got to go to. Or I've got a project that's due next week. Or I've got an assignment that's due tomorrow. And I was talking with a guy just about 2 weeks ago on campus, and he said, I'm a Christian guy, and I think spirituality is very important. But I'll prioritize that after I graduate, because then things are really going to settle down. And I respected that. I didn't continue pushing too much, but I know the reality is, if he continues in that mindset, he's never going to prioritize time with God. He's never going to prioritize his walk with Jesus Christ. Why? Because life is always going to be busy. The enemy will find a way to keep us from prioritizing our time with God if we let him. And at some point, we just need to say, Jesus is worth it. I'm going to make time for him. And this is a time right now when people have kind of been forced to take a step back. Maybe the busyness has slowed down for a season. A lot of people are out of work right now. And so this is a time when people are realizing that they do have some time to think about these things that are really important. And we might be able to meet them at this time that's so strategic and share with them the love of Christ. And then the fourth way to advance with wisdom is to continue doing discipleship, continue making disciples. So if you are leading a discipleship group, do not cancel that group. This might be even a time it's more important. And one of the ways you guys can do this is through video meetings. I used Zoom, the video a video meeting platform, and it works great. I used that last week for my discipleship meeting, and I loved it. It's so great. You can share your screen. So if you have a presentation that you want to share, if you have a resource that you guys want to look out together, you can screen share, and you can pull up that the thing online that you want to look at together, or whatever resource you want to look at, and you can study it together. You could even open up a Bible online, and you can screen share that, so you could read the Bible together. And so I just want to continue making disciples during this time. I want to encourage you guys, don't slow down with this. Keep on doing it. And if you are in a discipleship group, encourage your leader to keep meeting. So find a video platform that works well for you and your group and use it. Keep up those discipleship meetings. Maybe there are some other ideas. And if you've got some other ideas of how to advance with wisdom, you guys can go ahead and put those in the comment section. So the fourth thing I want to go over is, what would it look like? Guys, what would it look like if we as Christians decided to make the most of every opportunity, not to retreat in fear, but to say, we're going to look at this and face it head on. And we're going to continue reaching people for Christ. We're going to continue loving our neighbors by serving them and finding creative ways to do that. What would it look like if every follower of Christ made the decision to live that way? And not just now, but always. What if we were always thinking that? What would that look like? I think this world would be turned upside down. We really would be the light of the world. We would be in the world and not of the world. And then the fifth thing I want to go over is, what's this going to look like for Challenge? So at Challenge, we are continuing with, it's just not going to be in person. We're going to do our large group meeting as a live stream on YouTube. So if you're watching this video, we're going to do it in a similar way that I'm doing them. So we're going to, in the comment section of the video or in the chat section of the video later on tonight, as we do our Challenge large group meeting, we're going to post links to Zoom meetings. And so the freshmen are going to break out into a Zoom meeting. The sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they're all going to have their separate Zoom meetings, and they're going to be able to do their discussion time. So fellowship is going to continue. We're going to continue to be able to meet together. It's just going to be online. Our core team, it's going to keep going as well. We're going to do that via Zoom. And then our discipleship meetings, once again, we're going to keep doing that. We don't plan to stop. So my question is, what are you going to do? How are you going to advance with wisdom? How are you going to apply Ephesians 5:15 and make the most of every single opportunity that we have? All right, for those of you guys who are college students, I will see you guys tonight at our live large group meeting. Look forward to doing that.